Hello everyone, and I am that guy that sometimes uploads Age of Empires 2 videos, sometimes referred to as Munkle Zombie, because that's what I chose to call myself. But anyways, I'm going to be doing something a bit different. First of all, I finally figured out how to record in HD. It's probably the crappiest HD quality that there is on the market, but even just recording in this kind of quality, I had huge FPS drops. So, this is about as good as it's going to get. But anyways, it looks a lot better than it did, and it's also in widescreen now, and I actually do not have a widescreen monitor, so it means that the top and the half of the game are cut off on my screen, which is a bit annoying, but those are just sacrifices you have to deal with. I'm playing Age of Empires 3 here, not Age of Empires 2. And I'm not actually playing a campaign at the moment, and the reason for that is because I wanted to kind of try out this game and test the waters. Although I have played it in the past, not in the recent past, so I was just more, testing this game, making sure someone actually wanted to see this. I'm sure there's a few people who do, other than Age of Empires 2, which is a bit more of a popular and more well-known game for whatever reason, even though this is more recent. I think part of this game, this Age of Empires 3, is definitely a good game, but it is outshone by its predecessor, Age of Empires 2, which is really the shining example of how all RTS games should be in all of history, because that game is pretty much as close as it comes to perfection game-wise. Anyway, Age of Empires 3, it is very different. Some of the civilizations have a bit more varied effects. I'm playing as the Dutch here, which have to make villagers out of gold, or coin, as this game likes to call it. So that's a bit weird. I set up a dock early on because fishing was never really something I really grasped the intricacies of in this game. So I figured I should probably try to do some fishing boats, and I guess they're alright. I wasn't really paying too much attention to the fishing boats, so whether they're really fast at collecting food or really slow, I'll never know. You can also fish whales using the same fishing boats, but you will get coin from the whales, which kind of makes sense because in ancient times they hunted whales for their blubber and other bodily parts and sold that for profit, not really for the food. Anyway, you also get some cards in this game that you can send to your town center, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I guess it does add some non-RTS aspects to this game. So in the beginning you want to send cards like villagers and food, coin and gold and that sort of stuff, and you just send that to your town center, and then you get free resources or villagers. And later on in the game you can send other cards, pretty much everything you can even dream of having, although most of them are just military units. And I was just using my Explorer here to build a trading post, although, since I am playing the Asian Dynasties expansion, not the original vanilla Age of Empires 3, I'm not sure. In Age of Empires 3, the vanilla expansion, the vanilla game, not one of the expansions, you get free XP, which is used to level up your main city and get more cards for building trading posts. But since I was playing the Asian Dynasties, this was my first time playing a random map on the Asian Dynasties. So I wasn't quite sure whether it's just the expansion that I'm playing or the certain map. I was playing the map Indochina, if anyone's interested, which is mostly land surrounded by a little bit of sea that is mostly used for fishing. I don't believe the CPU players ever built any docks. I had one CPU teammate who was the Japanese, and he was alright, and the other two, which were, one was French, and I cannot remember for the life of me what the other one was. I was playing on moderate difficulty, since I thought that's a good difficulty to start out on, and it was piss easy, so next time I play on random map, I'll definitely be moving up to hard and see how that goes, although if that's too easy, maybe I'll be able to find some modded AIs that are a bit more difficult on the internet or something like that, because I know they had those for Age of Empires 2. Here I got some barracks set up, and I'm starting to pump out these veteran skirmishers. They really seemed like the best choice. I always have liked infantry a lot more than cavalry, especially with guns. Infantry with guns, they just seem to fit the whole situation a little bit better than cavalry do. The green player did get one attack off on me where he snuck a few troops around my defenses. I had 2 outposts and a fortress, which is kind of like a castle in Age of Empires 2, and I had those all set up, defending my front line, but the green player was able to sneak a few troops around and kill a few of my villagers, which is a bit unfortunate, but he was dealt with without too much bother, and that's the only time I was harassed during this entire game. They did attack my outposts and forts a couple times, but they died because, well, men with rifles do not hold up very well against a huge fort that is complete with cannons. And here the Green decided to harass my little trading post thing that I had set up, so I decided to take care of them really fast. They did not create a whole lot of units, probably because I was playing on moderate difficulty, and they also seemed to age up incredibly slowly, because I was taking my sweet time to age up, and I was still miles ahead of all the CPU players, even my ally who was doing quite well. So definitely time for a small difficulty boost, I would say. Anyways, if anyone's enjoying watching this kind, I just had one question I was going to ask. Would it be better to more showcase a whole game and split it up into parts and make a really long video and maybe do live commentary? Or what I'm doing here is just cutting up the video, cutting up the gameplay into smaller sections and then commentating over it after the fact. It is actually a lot easier to do live commentary. For whatever reason, it just seems to be easier to think of things to say when you're actually playing the game versus when you're looking at it in a little box and trying to say things off the top of your head. Also, the Dutch get a really cool building called a bank, which does not take any villagers to man, but once you build it, it just slowly generates coin over time. There's also a card that you can send that will allow you to build an extra bank. You can build 4 banks without that card, and 5 if you do build that card. Once the gold mines run out, because they do not last forever, this game didn't take too long. I believe it was a little over an hour to complete. But if you're playing a longer game, presumably with more players, you could also build plantations, and those are basically like just coin mines, but it is a lot slower than actually mining the coin deposits on the map, so it's much better to mine out the silver mines. That's what I believe they're called. It's much better to use your villagers to mine out the silver mines before you start building plantations. And the same with hunting. Since there is no drop-off points in this game, your villagers just collect food from wherever they're at and they go straight into your coffers. It's much better to hunt all the animals that are remotely close to your base before you start building mills. I'm not quite sure if fishing is a great source of food because I didn't look it up, but my fishing boats, although I didn't have a lot of fishing boats, they were able to keep going the entire game. Also, whales are an infinite source of coin, and I'll bet any amount of money that whales are a faster method than building plantations. So in late game, you can build some docks and have your fishing boats harvest from whales, and that might be a great idea. Anyway, I decided to attack the yellow player pretty soon, and I just decimate them. They don't really put up that much of a resistance. I didn't even have a very big army. I had about 45 skirmishers and 4, I believe they're mortars, although when upgraded they're called howitzers. And I had a couple field guns too, very usefully. Here I had some major FPS issues. I'm not sure if it will show up, but since my computer is incredibly old and I was trying to record on pretty much the highest resolution that this game will allow, my computer will allow without dying horribly, I had some pretty bad frame rate issues, although they're not that apparent in the video. Anyway, those howitzers were pretty effective at taking out buildings. They just destroyed them and raised them to the ground quite easily, not putting up too much of a fight. As you can see here, the screen's lagging a bit. I tried to focus my attention away from the battle because I knew I had enough men to wipe the floor with the yellow anyway. I wasn't going to have too much problems. And green at this point is still in the second age, which kind of surprised me because I had harassed them a little bit earlier, but I had only sent in a few pikemen to pick off a couple of their villagers. I hadn't exactly launched an all-out attack, and they're still only in the second age. So this just goes to show that moderate is a code word for extremely easy and not a challenge at all. So anyway, yellow resigned shortly after and decided to attack green. With all the FPS frame rate issues that entails. And they were very easily defeated as they were still in the second age. Didn't really have any units that could put up much of a fight. They had a few crossbowmen, but crossbowmen versus skirmishers. The skirmishers just took them out pretty easily. Not much of a challenge there. And then my howitzers raised all the buildings down. So, I actually really enjoyed playing Age of Empires 3. I wasn't quite sure if I would because I had kind of fallen for Age of Empires 2 I don't know. But anyway, that's probably my favorite game of all time, so I wasn't really sure if Age of Empires 3's faults could, get out of the way and it would still be a fun game. But it was, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to playing more, possibly even the campaign, so that should be fun. I also have some other RTS games that I downloaded recently, just some memorabilia from my childhood that I used to play a lot when I was little. I'm just really living that, and I've decided to make videos on it. So, if you're watching this to this point still, thanks for watching, and expect lots more games in the past, not just Age of Empires 2, although I definitely will try my best to finish the Age of Empires 2 campaign walkthroughs, but lots of other games as well. So here, victory is mine. It's done. I look at the statistics. I'm not really going to show them because they're just a bunch of numbers on the screen. But that's all. Thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you enjoy, because I'll have many more gameplays coming. Not necessarily of this game, but lots of others too. And yeah, that is all. Farewell.